after a while, I started dating my boss, which is not a good idea. And one of us had to go. So guess which one? Yeah, I had to leave and find another job, which turned out to be the best possible thing that could happen to me because it put me in a series working for companies in healthcare and sales. And I ended up working for a company that printed and mailed hospital bills. And I was hired as vice president of sales to sell hospitals on the idea of sending their data electronically and then us printing and mailing their bills. Well, it took me a while to get going, but after a while I did. And I was making great money, so I was able to buy a car. So I went from driving that ugly old Volkswagen to driving a beautiful Jaguar. And I bought a house. And I started flipping houses as a hobby. My daughter and I, by then she was a teenager, and we were doing that together. I ended up working for a company that, like I said, was in the healthcare revenue cycle space, but I would add new customers daily, and we would lose new customers daily. Our customers were big hospital systems, like community health systems and Bon Secours and the big healthcare systems in California. So hospitals from all around the country sent their data to us electronically, and we printed and mailed it. We'd gotten to where we were losing so many customers because our service was terrible. And I kept going to my boss to say, we've got to figure this out. We can't keep losing customers at this pace. As a straight commission sales rep, it really mattered to me a lot. But he didn't seem that concerned about it. But then I picked up a book called Nuts, and it's a book about how Herb Kelleher started Southwest Airlines with his belief that if he took great care of the flight attendants and the pilots and the baggage handlers, that they would be happy at work. And if they were happy at work, they would take great care of the passengers, and that would build a great company. And at that time, Southwest was really just taking off, and that really resonated with me. So I ran to my boss and said, "Boss, I've got to talk to you about it. I think I've got something figured out here." Because what I had witnessed was most of our problems, the reason we were losing so many customers, all went back to just simple human error. Little tiny mistakes that were due to carelessness. And the carelessness was just that. My coworkers didn't care. They just didn't care. But what struck me was the reason they didn't care is nobody cared about them, and they knew it. And that hit me like a ton of bricks because I saw I was responsible for 100% of the $15 million in revenue that came in that business every day, but I was overlooked. I didn't have a voice. And if I'm the one that's responsible for all the revenue and I'm not being heard, how do they feel when they're on the factory floor running those machines? So that's when I ran to my boss and said, "I've got this figured out. If we could work on morale, if we could just work on employee engagement by working on morale, we could solve all of our problems." So instead of saying, "I love that you're thinking about my business that way," he reached across the table and he patted my hand and he said, "Sherry, you don't know anything about business. Why don't you just go sell something?" He wasn't totally wrong. I didn't know much about business. I'd never even read a business plan, but here I was thinking I might want to write one because I took his advice. His advice was just go sell something. So I did. I walked out his door that day and never walked back in. And I went and set up a company of my own competing with him. And I sold. And I told him that I didn't want to be anything like him. And I was going to set my company up differently from anybody else's. I went and asked 5 different people in Nashville for the money. I said, I think I need about $350,000. I didn't know what I was doing. But I needed $350,000 to start this company competing with that guy. And all 5 of them said yes. Every person I went to said, "Yes, I'll give you the money." And then when I told them how I wanted to run that company, they're going, "Whoa, whoa." And they started putting parameters on me. So I just said no to everybody. I said, "Keep your money. I'm going to do this my way." So I had a week-long yard sale. I sold all my belongings. Then I went to Goodwill and I bought 2 of those little short filing cabinets. And I got an old door and pulled that over the filing cabinets, and that became my desk. And I had a whiteboard and a landline, and I started my business there in my basement. And I decided that since I didn't want to be anything like him, I wanted to have a company that put the employees first. And to me, that looked like making sure they didn't experience any of the things that I had experienced as an employee. So I wanted to make sure they had enough money so that they didn't have to worry about the lights being on when they got home. So I made sure that everybody was being paid a fair living wage. And then thinking back about Whitney's foot, there as a 4-year-old, I decided we were going to cover 100% of our employees' medical, dental, disability, and life insurance from day one. But one of the real kickers was thinking about the pride I felt when I bought my first house. That first house at 1005 Battlefield Drive in Green Hills for $70,000. Can you believe it? And the pride that I felt. And I thought, I want to afford that honor to more people. So I said, we're going to pay for the down payment of the closing costs on any employee's home. And we're going to let them bring their kids and their pets to work anytime they want to. And if they want to bike to work or take the bus to work, we're going to pay for that. And if they bike or walk, we'll pay them by the mile. We're going to do everything to take care of them so beautifully that when they're at work, they're not worried about their bills. They're not worried about health insurance. They're just worried about taking great care of the customer.